I'm calling this Newington Board of Education meeting to order. It is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. The time now is 7:00 p.m. Would you please rise as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. If you would please call the roll.
Michael Branda.
Here.
Danielle Drove.
Here.
Dr. Bruce Fletcher.
Here.
Beth Mikey Wagner.
Here.
Richard LaVerriere. Amy Parati.
Here.
Sam Sharma.
Here.
Jessica Weaver.
Here.
Anastasia Yap.
Here.
I have everybody here except Mr. LaVerriere.
All right, very good. Next up is agenda item B, which is our presentation of awards and proclamations. The first one that we're going to do is a resolution honoring the Newington school nurses. I am going to ask the vice chair if you wouldn't mind reading this. I barely have a voice.
Resolution honoring school nurses, May 10th, 2023. Whereas Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 was proclaimed as Newington School Nurses Day, and whereas Newington school nurses help to foster a healthy, nurturing community in which our children can learn and grow, and whereas Newington school nurses are the first and sometimes the only line of defense against the illnesses and conditions our students face, making their contribution to the education and welfare of the student population invaluable. And whereas Newington school nurses, by nature of their profession, are called upon to take on roles beyond that of a health provider, acting as a teacher, confidant, mentor, and friend to the students of Newington. And whereas Newington school nurses are dedicated to the success and wellness of Newington's future generations. Therefore, we do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 as Newington School Nurses Day. Be it resolved that we urge all of the citizens of our community to join with us in actively expressing gratitude to all school nurses. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of Education is directed to spread this resolution upon, sprinkle. No, it says spread. Oh, sorry. Spread this resolution upon the minutes of this meeting and to provide a suitable copy for presentation. Signed, members of the Newington Board of Education.
All right.
They stopped it.
So I believe Mercy Hetherington is on the line to accept this. Is she there?
I can see her. Let me look at the list of attendees. I don't. No, I don't see her.
All right, do we have any of the other school nurses on?
Hello, are there any other school nurses on the call tonight? Raise your hand. I don't see any, but I want to make sure. Oh. Looks like we do have a school nurse.
Good. Would you like to say anything, Vanessa?
On behalf of all the school nurses in Newington, we just greatly appreciate you recognizing us, and we just appreciate just being there for all the kids and the staff to do our job. Thank you again.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other nurse? So what we'll do is if you want to make comments, we'll start on this side of the table first.
I just want to thank all of the nurses. I think the comment about being counselors or confidants in there is really important. A lot of times that nurse's office is a safe haven for students, and we forget about the fact that the nurse is that person that they trust the most. And so thank you. I know it goes beyond just giving medical care. So I appreciate you and I thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's, more than just Band-Aids and ice packs these days. So there's a lot of allergies and medications and just general being there for students. So we appreciate you and all the students appreciate the work that you do. So thank you.
Yeah, just want to say again, so much gratitude for what you all do. And I think, emphasize this especially during those first days and those middle days of COVID. And as we come out of it, we still appreciate you. I don't know how we would have gotten through without you. And that continues just to make sure every day students are functioning and actually can either go to the classroom or just be in a safe place. And I know we've had several kind of medical incidents over the past kind of year and a half, it feels like, and knowing that our nurses are there are just such a comfort, I think, not only to the members of this board, but just the community at large, knowing that we have just incredible nurses. So thank you for what you do every day. And we know that the students appreciate it. We appreciate it. And congratulations. And we will sprinkle this love.
I just want to echo what everyone else said. There've been like multiple times when my kids have like gone to the nurse in school, and also like the nurses called me up and come pick my kids up. So I really appreciate all what what you all do. So thanks a lot for everything.
I think you guys have all said it, but I was going to say thank you for everything you do. I know I had a clumsy kid who you guys have helped, who also has allergies. So you guys have been so helpful with my own clumsy kid, with everything you guys have helped with his allergies, with, COVID, everything. And, we're very thankful that you're right there. I know you dealt with so much during COVID, especially, with symptoms mimicking, cold symptoms and flu symptoms and everything else. So thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, I think I really appreciated what Danielle said, just in terms of the nurse's office being that safe haven sometimes and helping students get through a tough day. Sometimes they're not feeling well because of other reasons, and it would be very easy to just send a kid home. But I love that our nurses kind of help kids through those tough times and really work toward solutions with the students when they're struggling. And special shout out to Miss Ortiz and John Wallace, because I know some people who tend to go to her office a little too much.
Ditto to all, and just made me think, I think this, though this may be annoying, I think the sign of a really good nurse is the fact that there's kids that want to come there so much. My friends, we talk about the nurse who was at Martin Kellogg when we were in middle school, and how going into her office felt like going to our grandmother's house. It was just filled with warmth, and it was so much more, as Danielle said, than a Band-Aid or an ice pack. So thank you for all you do and for your kindness. And I'm sorry, Amy, I'm sorry. For your kindness and just your warmth in the way that you've nurtured our kids.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Go ahead, Dr. Brummett.
Well, I just want to say I have the pleasure of supervising the nurse supervisor, Mrs. Hetherington, and on behalf of the board, on Nurses Appreciation Day, the board bought the entire nursing staff lunch. They had it delivered from Panera. They have a tough job. It's not like it used to be, and COVID was a whole new level. So we do appreciate our nurses. They work super hard day in and day out, and you never know when an emergency is going to hit. And typically it does. So anyway, much appreciated. Thank you, Dr. Fletcher.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we are going to move on to our next presentation. And I'm going to hand these off to you. I'll make an introduction to it. So we're going to be recognizing our board student representatives tonight. I'm going to say thank you in advance. But if you want to go ahead, read both of those in there, then we'll give you both an opportunity to share.
Student Recognition Award. This award is presented to Maggie Woods for participating in the Newington Board of Education meetings and her leadership within the school community, and for demonstrating exemplary leadership skills. Additionally, this award is presented to Trisha Iyer for the same wonderful reasons of school year 2022, 2023.
All right. So what we can do, I'd like to present these to you right now, then we'll give you an opportunity for comments. And you're going to be ready? Okay. Ladies. All right. So to do this professionally here. Hand that to you.
And Dr. Fletcher, can you get in the picture? We're going to do a little picture for,
You want me to photobomb?
yeah, no, you're part of it.
I'll take one more for her. Okay, thank you.
Before I forget, tonight you get to take home your named badges because they're just for you. So we're only going to recycle them. And we said, maybe they should take them home for their desk at college.
All right. Would you ladies like to comment?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's been a real honor to come and represent the students, not only at NHS, but also in Newington Public Schools. And I'm very honored to be able to have this opportunity in this position to do so. And you've all been so welcoming and kind. So I really appreciate you all. Thank you.
How am I supposed to top that? I also want to say thank you. I think for me, it's very scary to talk in front of adults. And I feel like it's like a really big thing. And we're here presenting like not all the time good things. Like sometimes we like talk about issues that we see happening at NHS. And I feel like this space is like very like welcoming, and I feel like safe to be able to talk about this kind of stuff, and that like my ideas will be listened to, and that like my voice kind of matters, which is really nice. All of you have been so kind, and I say it all the time, but it's like crazy how like my first day I was here and I was like shaking. I was so nervous. I was like, they're judging me, they're judging me, they're judging me. And now I like see all these friendly faces and I'm like, I'm so excited to be here. And I'm just really glad that Maggie and I had the opportunity to be able to be here and like represent the student body, because I feel like a lot of the times people in the school like don't feel like they have a say, and we have a chance to bring what they want to see to the table. So yeah, thank you so much. And I'm sad because I will be leaving out of state. So I probably won't be seeing many of you again. I will visit, but I don't know who I'm going to see around town. I'm going to Purdue in Indiana. And I'm really excited, but it's like a far place. But if this is the last time that I'm seeing all of you, graduation! Oh my God! You just mentioned that. Oh my goodness! I am so totally proud. But yeah. Oh my goodness. But this is the last time I'm seeing you guys in this room. So that is very sad, and I'm sad to see you go, but I had an amazing time and I don't regret anything. So yeah.
Future Boilermaker. There you go.
Is that what their mascot is?
Yep.
You did. Founded it. Ladies, I just wanted to say, one of the things you just said, your student voice, to me, that is everything. That is so incredibly important. So much so, I mean, Jessica and I both went to Newington High School, and we're back however many years later at this same table. Still, we had leadership roles in high school. Now we're back still doing that because we felt heard. And I think even now even more so because of your leadership, because of your courage and advocacy, you are paving the path for whoever sits in those seats next year and after you, and 10 years from now. Every year will feel more comfortable truly advocating for what the students need. I feel that there should always be students on this Board of Education. You are so important. I don't ever feel comfortable making decisions about the children of this town without the stakeholders truly being involved. Another thing I just wanted to quickly say is that what's really cool about these two young ladies is that anytime I've been to anything at Newington High School, they are there. Last night, the scholarship awards at Newington High School, I heard your names called multiple times and given in honor, the scholarships were given in honor of these families who in memorial dedicated these awards to students that they feel truly embody the loved one who'd passed away or the family or whatnot. And so the fact that you received those is just really touching. And the involvement you have in student council and in the plays. And I think, Meg, you're a lifeguard. I think when my son was doing his 3-year-old water baby, sorry, he just jumped in the pool that one time. He was like cannonballs. So you're everywhere. You're a part of this community. I know you're going far, but please remember that Newington's your home. Always, 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 always will be. So thank you.
All right, so Trisha, June 12th, you've got it on your calendar, right? You're going to be there at graduation? Okay. All right, cool. All right, that's good. Because Purdue would really frown upon you just passing on that. All right. Yeah, I think just for reference sake, the students in your position have not been sitting at this table for too long. So it's been about 6 years. Josh Schulman was the chair then, and the students used to be like kind of where Craig is. So like they used to be over there, and then when it was your turn to speak, you'd come up to the table, you'd speak, and then they'd be like, all right, thank you very much, have a nice night. So Josh set the precedent to invite the students. Paul kept it going, Paul Vasella, and then Dr. Fletcher as well. So it's important to take note of that too, because like Beth said, it's important that you're a part of this Board of Education. And I think sitting at the table, you feel more a part of it than you would if you were over there. No disrespect, Craig. You're all good with me.
He looks comfortable.
Yeah, he does look comfortable. So when you said that the first meeting, you were like scared to talk in front of all of us, you fooled me because you guys represent the school so well. And what's interesting too is when we've had other students present and you've been here, I really like how first and foremost it seems like everybody that comes to the table, but also I think they feed off of your leadership, kind of what Beth was talking about. They see you sitting there, they hear you speak, give you a report, and then they're presenting, and it's kind of like it kind of sets the tone that it's okay to do the presentation that they're probably really nervous about. But because you two crush your reports every time you're here, it allows everybody a little bit more freedom and a little bit of, a moment of pause to relax and understand that there's nothing really scary about this table. Well, maybe there is, but not in what you are here to do. On a personal level, I just really like that when you've given your reports, and I know I've shouted out some ideas and things like that, I think it's easy for students to hear people tell or suggest things and just say, all right, yeah. But I really like how you take suggestions, not only from myself, but others, and you think about it. And we've had some brainstorming sessions too, like at this table, and that's really cool. And I think over the last 6 years, your role has expanded and it keeps going. And it's people like you both that are going to pave the way for the next two. And the next two are going to feel more comfortable, and they're going to, follow your lead, follow Jimmy's lead. They're going to follow all these students. But I think it's on the bingo card that if you mention Jimmy, you win. So, see, there you go. But I'll wrap it up. So I think that your leadership in your school is really important. Your leadership here has helped pave the way for future leaders. And when I know I've talked about a lot with the middle school students looking up to high school students. So keep that in mind, as you're going to go to Purdue, you're the freshman, right? So now you're going to look for those upperclassmen to kind of be leaders for you. But then guess what? You're now the leader for the freshmen that are coming into Newington High. So it's an important role. You crushed it. You did so well. I'm so thankful to have met you both, to be able to work and brainstorm with you. And I wish you both luck and see you on June 12th.
Oh, I love that. Love that. I just want to say thank you guys for everything you've done. Obviously I didn't go to Newington High, so you opened my eyes to a lot of clubs, like Stop the Stigma and all these different clubs that you had never heard of when Jessica and everyone told me about that. And I was just like, wow, it's been over 10 years, okay, since I've been in school. So, just to see that, these amazing clubs and just different events are, happening in the school still. And just to have you here to kind of be a voice for the students who maybe are too afraid to come up here and talk, that's courageous. And you both are just amazing, just to let you know. I can't wait to see you graduate. I'm so excited for everything you have in your future. And thank you for being amazing.
So I just want to thank Trisha and Maggie, both of you, like for doing this, and you've inspired like so many students. And I know you're graduating, so congratulations and good luck.
Oh, I don't want to cry. No, it's just one of those things, everyone's had this. This is Love Fest time for you guys, and I'm so excited because I've been waiting for this one. But one of those things I do when I think about being on the board was always like the student voice, obviously being the youngster here, but not youngster. And the farther and farther I get out, the more and more I just want to hear your thoughts and your voice about everything. And I just go back to one of our meetings where we had a really deep discussion about mental health, and you guys popped in and chimed in and were like, listen, we have like lines out the door. And just your tone, the way you said it and everything, like it sat with a lot of us for a long time. And, it's one of those things where we say, like, we have students representing what's really happening in the schools. We don't walk the halls every day. I walk those halls, but not as recently. And so much has happened in the last couple years, particularly this last term that we've all sat on, and what you've had to go through as students is critical to get a sense of what are we feeling, what are you hearing, and the amount of activities you're involved in and the touch points you have at every single point. Literally, I don't think you could have more touch points at this point. You would find it though. And having that as a way for us to get a face to the issue, a voice to the issue is so critical. And it's just one of those things. I was on student council when we had a board rep and no one wanted that position. Like everyone was like, oh, and my best friend Macy had that position and she was like, I have to go to this board meeting at like 6:00 at night. And we're like, what even is that? Like, we had no concept. And I think it's just one of the best ways to get an understanding of the civic process. We talk a lot about what our portrait of a graduate is, what we want students to look like. And this experience, as crazy as it may be, it's such a great way to get an understanding of what the civic process at your local level looks like. And I wish every student could just come here to understand that, because I think, we get government 101, but one of those things is really, this is government 101 trial by fire. And you guys have absolutely risen to the occasion and done such a wonderful job. Your reports are so holistic and really make sure that you touch upon everything and anything you can. You come like full report ready. You coordinate back and forth with who's talking when, even when it's like half virtual and all this stuff. The way you have done that is such a great example you have set for not only students to come, but the student body itself. You represent them so well, and you are shining examples of what our portrait of the graduate is. So thank you guys so much for the time you've dedicated for this. I know it is not easy when you're like trying to do homework and finals and in 17 AP classes, plus, and then applying for college and all these other things and looking fabulous at proms and everything else. But thank you for taking the time. I know it's not easy. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for showing up and showing out and being amazing examples for what NHS looks like. I'm not gonna cry. Okay. And I'll see you on June 12th.
Yeah, just thank you for being here and sharing your perspective. And Trish, it is scary to speak in front of adults. Sometimes I get scared too, but I've seen you, both of you, grow over the last several months. And so it's been really amazing to see the progression and you getting more and more comfortable and feeling like you can open up to us and really share important things that are happening at the school. So good luck at Purdue, good luck in your senior year. And it's been really great having both of you at this table.
I'm last. I'm not going to say everything over again, but Trish, enjoy every moment from now. See, I am going to cry. From now until June 12th. And you know I love you. That's all.
Last year I had like 2 tissues. This year I might need to just bring the box.
Just a quick bang out to both young ladies. First of all, just a quick reminder, Trisha is the salutatorian, so that's sort of a... I know, and Maggie's a delight to work with. Both were kind enough to introduce me to our new representatives for next year at a recent STUCO meeting. So I did put a picture of them in my update a week or so ago. And I mean, so they've even helped us with the transition. So I appreciate all that they've done, and don't forget your name tags. They make lovely desk accessories.
All right.
Going to be a puddle.
I want to say this, it has been pleasant working with you. In a world where there's a lot of unpleasant things that's going on around us, you know, there are things that are swirling around. There's a lot of negativity. You brought a bright light to this table, and it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm going to be sad to see you guys go, but I know that the future looks bright for the both of you. And I want to congratulate you, and I want to say thank you for your input and for being advocates. Your voices for the other students, and we've heard you. Good job. I just hope that the people that follow you are just as good as you are.
Thank you.
There they go. All right. So at this time, we're going to move on to our next item, D3, which is the recognition of our mentors and mentees. And Mr. Parisi, I believe that this is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. So I too just want to thank you both. It's been a pleasure being able to sit next to you and hear all the wonderful things that you talk about. So thank you. With that, I am honored to be able to present to you this evening some of the kind of unsung heroes in general, because we usually don't talk about their work behind the scenes, which we call mentors. And those are mentors to our new teachers here in Newington. So whether they are coming right out of college and joining the Newington Public Schools as a brand new hire into education, or if they are transitioning from another district to the Newington Public Schools, we match them up with a mentor teacher here who is had extensive training in the team mentor process through the State Department of Education, as well as has shown high levels of success in the classroom themselves. So we have 40 mentor teachers right now. 14 of them, which I believe are on the line, either in person or on a call, and then 26 that couldn't make it this evening. But that is an awesome amount of folks who are really helping our next generation of educators grow and develop here in the Newington Public Schools through their expertise. These are folks that we count on to really help the mentees engage in 5 modules that are required through the State Department of Education within approximately 2 years. Some may need 3, but in general, accomplish it within 2. And the modules are rigorous. And the mentors not only support them each and every day through those modules in ensuring that they have sound pedagogy, sound classroom management, sound assessment practices, sound professional standards, but also just help them with, in your own workplace, just general life, right? How to manage this, how to find the copier, how to go here, how to do this, how to navigate the world of education. And so for all that, I just have 40 amazing heroes that I'd like to introduce to you this evening. I will share the names of those that are joining us this evening. And then we have about 26 others that we have already made sure that they are recognized. So on the call with us this evening, and I noticed some of their mentees are with them, but I will just share the mentors. We have Dina Bazinskis, Ken Bell, Eileen Breedice, Krista Cody, Brenda Zwill, Jen Fitchman, Susan Fries, Christine Gamari, Kim Garger, Kathy Griswold, Amy Inzero, Jennifer McGowan, Andrea Obert-Hahn, Jonas Roberts, and I think Sue Bockerly. Those are the folks that could join us this evening. If I missed anyone online, please say your name. I'm sorry. But I just want to thank them truly and sincerely for all that they do. They do a majority of this work outside of school hours because they have their own responsibilities during the day. So they are true heroes in my eyes.
So if you'd like, I can take a few minutes and I'll allow a couple of the mentors to speak if they'd like to. So if you would like to say something, you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. All right, Lauren, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. This was my first year being a mentor. I had the pleasure of mentoring Anthony Marcello at John Wallace, and he was wonderful. I couldn't have asked for a better mentee to start off my journey as being a mentor. But I just also want to shout out to Rachel Stewart at John Wallace. She was integral in helping me navigate my first experience with this. And I just really enjoyed myself, and I'm looking forward to my next mentee.
Thank you. Is there another mentor that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, I want to say thank you for participating with us, and we'll allow our board members now an opportunity to make comment.
I can do this without crying. All right, so I just, for those.
I'm not so sure, but we'll see.
We'll see. So, awesome job to everyone who steps up to be a mentor. It is not an easy job. It adds extra stress to an already stressful workday. And kudos to Steve. You need a shout out here also, because the fact that you have 40 mentors is insane to me. I've worked in many districts where people are like begging teachers to go through the training and to do it not because we don't want to develop new teachers, but it is a huge responsibility. So that's a shout out to you as well, and to all the mentors. And I do need to do a little separate shout out. I'm going to do it without crying, to Mrs. Breedice, who is just amazing, and your mentee is so lucky. And to Jonas, mentee is so lucky. I'm sure you're all amazing. Those just happen to be the two teachers that I've had experiences with. And so Mrs. Breedice, your JT is a junior in college. Do you feel old?
Yeah, I think it's great that so many people are willing to take the extra time and just help a new educator find their way and be a safe place for any question or whatever that comes up during the day or throughout the year. And thank you for, taking the time and training to do it, and then also doing it and performing it. And it sounds like it's a great opportunity, as Lauren said. She's getting something out of it. Hopefully everyone's getting something out of it, not just the mentees, but appreciate you and thank you.
Sorry it took so long to get to your Love Fest, but we have so many people we want to thank. But thank you all so much. I remember last year, I think I called it like the NFL All-Star team. Like, these mentors are always the top notch and top tier of Newington Public Schools, and what it takes. And just knowing so many of my friends that have had to be first-time teachers in the past few years, it's just a different landscape. So being a mentor now, I feel like is just even more. So many, as my sister goes into her senior year and is going to student teach, it's one of those things I'm like, well, make sure you have a good mentor. Like, how is the mentor program going to be? And it's just one of those things that I think is we talk about how we can, make a good culture for the school, attract more talent. Like, what does that look like, and how can we support teachers? And teachers are already doing so much to be able to support each other. And that's just one of the things that tells us, wow, like, we have a special district. And I have to give a special shout out to Miss Cody and Mr. Bell, because I love you guys. But I'm not shocked that you're the best mentors out there, because you have not only been just incredible teachers to me, to my sister, but being incredible teachers to other teachers. So thank you so much for taking the extra time and doing it. I love you all. Hopefully I'll see you June 12th.
I just want to quickly thank all the mentors. I remember first time when my wife, she's a teacher at a different district, but when she started teaching, her mentor really made it so much easier for her to get in transition into teaching. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this.
So I'm going to kind of echo off that, because my grandma was a teacher for 35 years, third grade, not an easy grade. My dad's mom, and she was a mentor to a lot of people. Even after her passing, people always say that, wow, she really stepped up to help others. And to know that Newington, has, recognized 40 mentors, that just shows how how willing and above and beyond our teachers are going just to help the next generation of teachers. The fact that you guys are stepping up, like Steve said, taking the time outside of school to do this, just really shows how much you care about the students, their well-being, other teachers, and you did this during COVID. So thank you for everything, because I know it wasn't easy for you mentally. Obviously, mental health is, huge thing now and has always been. But thank you for taking that extra time and going above and beyond. You are appreciated. Thank you.
I know that our student reps know that I love a good mentor program. So this is always a really great feature at our board meetings because it shows the investment that our educators have in one another. And it's not just, people who are new to the education field. It could be somebody who switched districts and has been in a district for the last 12 years and they come to a new district. And that can be a culture shock too. So having that person that you can count on and rely on to ask the question that you don't want to ask in front of everybody, or just kind of find your way in core social groups that exist within the schools, it's really important. The fact that we have 40 mentors is incredible. And every time that I've sat here and we have the mentors here, we always have mentors like Mrs. Close that talk about how great the program is and how they can't wait to do it again. And I do think that that's a credit to the leadership in the district, but also just the people who are signing up, and also the mentees too, because they make that experience. They have to be willing to be mentored. Obviously it's a part of the program that they're here, but it's up to them to make it successful too. I'm not surprised just looking online really quick. I see Andrea, I see Brenda, I see Krista, and of course, Lauren, some of the best teachers that I hear about in this district or I've seen myself. Today was Be a Hero Day at John Patterson, as Ms. Overton knows. So as Mr. Freese said, you were all heroes. And I'll never probably get a moment to do this again. So there's a person on this call who is a mentor to my daughter, and they are a very important person to my daughter. So the fact that they are a mentor to teachers and obviously they are a mentor to their students, and in particular my student, means the world to me. And I think we'll probably have to do a puppy visit tomorrow.
Not to be repetitive, but thank you all so much. I've been on both sides of the mentee mentor, and it's definitely a difficult position, but so incredibly rewarding. Mr. Farisi, I just wanted to say that I love that Newington sets up a mentor for teachers that are new to the district, not just new to the profession. As somebody who switched districts this year, sometimes switching districts is like going to a new country. So I think that having that set up is just fantastic, above and beyond, and really probably what keeps our teachers here. And recognizing so many of the names that I heard read, these are such amazing individuals and educators, and our children are so very lucky.
Before I give it to you, I just want to make one statement, and that's simply that the value of a mentor is inestimable.
Always profound, Dr. Fletcher. I just want to also agree that this is an all-star lineup. And I want to make sure that I saw Sue Freeze's comment in the chat that Sue is the mentee to Kathy Griswold. Their fourth grade teammates, Addie Green, and Kathy is mentoring Sue. Want to make sure that was clear. But thank you all for your efforts. It's a very hard year to be a mentor and a mentee, but I know you've all done amazing work together, so thank you.
Let's give them all a hand. Thank you once again. All right. At this time, we're going to move on to agenda item C. This is our public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. You are welcome to speak if you are here in person. The phone number to call is 860-665-8659. Or if you are in our Google Meet, you can put up the little symbol there of the hand. You raise your hand. I will call on you. We do limit civil participation to 3 minutes. So we will wait a few moments to see if there's anyone that wants to participate. Okay, I don't see anyone. There are no calls coming in. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item D. This is our standing committee information items. And what I want to do is I want to reverse it just a little bit here, if you guys don't mind, if you'll indulge me. I'm going to ask our student reps to give their report.
Well, it's the last one. You want to start?
Yeah, I would like to actually. I never get to say Stuco. Okay, so we are going to change it up a bit, and instead of starting with music and arts, we're going to start with clubs. So for Stuco, we did have an end of the year breakfast celebration that Dr. Brummett was at, and it was so fun. We got pastries from Mr. Rich, who is the head of the culinary department. They tasted so good. And so it was for any student that had above 75 points in Stuco, and there was a good turnout. It was 40 people, I think, which is amazing because I remember last year we were struggling to find people who had enough points to even qualify to be an officer, which was 60 or not even 60 points. It was 50 points, and now we've come such a far way, so I'm very proud of that. This year 26 seniors are earning Stuco cords, and we also wrote letters to 3rd and 4th grade students at Anna Reynolds as kind of letters to younger people to tell them about high school and how exciting it is and how it's going to be amazing, and to wish them good luck for their SBAC tests that are coming up, which I didn't really like when I was younger, but you know what? No one really likes standardized testing, and the students will be writing back with the help of their teachers. So that's really cute, I think. 20 students from Stuco and Diversity Club as well went to John Wallace earlier this week, I think, to present important information about high school to upcoming students, so the 8th graders, and about the different clubs that they can take part in and the different leadership positions that are available, because a lot of people are leaving this year and we need some positions to be filled in. And we also had Teacher Appreciation Week recently, and we got food for the teachers, and we gave them a U-Rock kind of bag that we have to some of the teachers, and it was really cute. I really liked it. We were thinking of it all year. We sent texts in the group chat. We were do we thanks a latte or do we like this instead? But we were a little creative with it. And then we also got to honor all of the school staff at NHS with a luncheon, or we get to, and it's going to happen on June 9th. So exciting stuff, really close to the end of the year. For Stop the Stigma, this week was Mental Health Awareness Week. Today was Wear Green, and we have 2 board members wearing green. So that's awesome. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah, as you should. It should be. Monday was Mellow Monday, and you got to wear comfy clothes or pajama pants. I wore my green sweatpants, and they looked amazing. Yesterday was Suicide Prevention Day, so we wore teal and purple. Today is wearing green. Tomorrow is Theme Thursday, which is Tropical Day, which will be fun. And then Friday is Express Yourself. So just wear whatever you want, basically, but it's something that kind of represents who you are. And then for DECA, new officers were elected, which is really sad because I'm a DECA officer, and so I'm seeing all the new people come in, and it's reminding me that I'm leaving, and I'm and we have Student Square, and normally Colin Stegmeyer sends out the Student Squares as reminders because he's the secretary, and there's a new person sending out the Student Squares, and I'm it's my whole world is changing. I'm trying not to think about it though. And we also had ICDC, which Maggie was on that trip, and she had a load of fun. I saw a lot of pictures I saw a picture of Jimmy and Colin inside a fake crocodile. It was really interesting. And I think Maya Galicio ended up like getting to the final rounds, right? Yeah. She's amazing. Excellent. And she and Colin placed at the state competition to go to nationals, and then everybody else was conference, right? Yeah. So it was really fun. And then yeah. So do you want to go on for sports?
Okay. So spring sports, last time we were here, I think we were just saying they were just starting. Well, now they're ending. So the state competitions are going to start in the next couple weeks. I know track, they have conference on Tuesday next week. So that's usually like the first one that comes up. Senior nights are also happening right now. They've kind of a couple this week, a couple last week, a couple next week.
And a senior night.
Come see Trish on May 24th. And then NHS hosted their annual CIAC Unified Sports statewide track meet last Wednesday, bringing together athletes and partners from across the state. I went. There was a huge turnout. It was really great to see everyone show up, even just to cheer everyone on. It was really nice. Baseball played Windsor last Thursday at Duncan Park in Hartford. That was cool. They're going back, I think, next Monday against Weathersfield. So that'll be a fun game. Girls tennis had a game to support a Newington police officer fighting brain cancer, and the whole team wore shirts that were made as part of a fundraiser by the Newington Police Department. And many members of the Newington Police Department were in attendance at last week's game to show their appreciation. And they did win, so it was great. It's great. And fall sports have begun their preseason meetings already. They're coming up soon. And also, Patty Brown and Mackenzie Hillman were recognized as NHS's scholar athletes, highlighting their excellence in both academics and athletics. So they went to a special conference and received their awards in front of other student athletes from the whole state, which was really nice.
Okay. So, events that have happened. So I talked about Mental Health Awareness Week, which is this week. But earlier this year, we had like senior May 1st, right, was decision day where everybody came in with their school merch. I do not have any merch from Purdue. I do need to change that. So I put stickers on my shirt because I got a bunch of stickers for some reason, which is amazing though. I love stickers. And then that week we did have like a few other spirit days. We had another pajama day, I think. We have a lot of pajama days. Actually, I have a question. Did we talk about pep rally last time we were here? I don't know if it was before or after pep rally. We haven't been here in a while.
That was for me.
Oh, okay. That's
If we didn't, it was great. It was really, it was great. But we also had our AM and PM awards and scholarships yesterday. And it was announced by Dr. Brummett that Trisha is our salutatorian and Sreya Joseph is our valedictorian for this year's graduating class. We were also able to swear in the Stuco members for the following year, including next year's Board of Ed reps. So next year's junior Board of Ed rep is Isabella Longo, and next year's senior Board of Ed rep is Megan Hintlian.
We also did swear in Maggie as president, and that was really cute. Congratulations, Maggie. It was adorable. Like, and Jimmy was the one who did it. So like Jimmy's up there and he's like passing the torch on to Maggie, and but he's holding on to that position. He keeps saying, he's like, I'm still president. I said for the 2023 to 2024 school year, hasn't started yet. So Maggie, until that diploma is in his hands, he's not letting it go.
And so next Thursday, we have both the National Honor Society induction for all new members, and we also have our athletic awards next Thursday as well. And next Wednesday is our Scholars Breakfast. Next Monday is our Science National Honor Society induction too. A lot of inductions right now. Do you want to talk about Senior One Act?
Oh yeah. So we also have the Senior One Act coming up. It is ironically called How to Overthrow Your Student Government in 7 Easy Steps. It's directed by Eli Johnson, who got a ton of music awards last night. It was crazy, but well deserved. And Brooke Hendon, and it's tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6:30. Tickets are $5 at the door. And it is actually really cool. The leads are our future senior board of ed rep Megan Hintlian and Colin Stegmeyer. So if you want to see something really cool, and if you want to see Colin Stegmeyer dressed as Julius Caesar, I would say you should come and see it.
And then the last couple things we have are just class office elections for the following year are upcoming. So we're starting to fill those positions that all our seniors are leaving behind. We're trying to fill those up quickly before the next year. And then sadly, but also on a happy note, graduation is on June 12th.
I won't
So,
forget.
yes, June 12th.
I'll be there.
So, we will get to see you all there on June 12th. And it has been a pleasure. So thank you. Oh, and also the chorus concert is next Tuesday.
Come support.
Had to mention that.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board members? Start on this side if there's anyone. Any questions?
I mean, I'm not gonna not say something at this point. Come on. No, I just like, again, it's just so thorough. It's so nice. It's one of those things. I love how much you like. Okay, we didn't even have, like, we're trying to put together a point system with Stuco, like, when I was there, and I'm like the math was just, like, not adding up. So to see the progress you've made is really encouraging. The amount of events you're doing, not just for students, but teachers in schools, is just incredible. How much you're doing for mental health, the amount of spirit weeks you're doing. I mean, you're, like, churning these out. It's just really, really incredible. And I just want to say, there's a t-shirt I can get you on Amazon for $20. I can get here tomorrow for Purdue, so I'll get you that, hon. But I just want to say thank you again for how much you're balancing. I know you literally just came in. She just came in from a tennis match, and that she won 6-0, 6-1. And like the amount you're like, you know, what you're balancing and just all of it, and just the amount that you're covering. Thank you so much. Absolutely wonderful job.
Dr. Bremen?
Only that Maggie will be inducted into the National Honor Society next week, if I'm not mistaken. I'll be there. But thank you both. I couldn't be more impressed, and the board has said that so many times. So thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, again, thank you very much. All right, at this time, we're going to look for our curriculum committee report.
I would like to ask if Jessica and Amy could help. I had strep throat and a double ear infection, but still signed on. I just don't remember much of that night.
Yeah, we can always.
It was a very high fever, but I wanted to be dedicated and log on. So help.
Yep, absolutely. And just want to say thank you to our chair from curriculum, Beth, for still logging on at that time. It was great. And I will turn anything over to Wendy that I don't remember, but this was a bit ago. But once again, we were going over, I believe this was the performance indicators on just some of our progress that we've been making. So kind of what's been done is more markers are being set. And I think Wendy did a wonderful job just kind of going over the progress we've made over the course of the year. Basically, as we do these math and reading assessments, we're seeing growth, but we're seeing a gap that still persists, that achievement gap, not just across, race and gender, but also, when you do a little bit of the intersection of combining race, gender, special needs, different learning disabilities and abilities. And I think that's one of the things we're looking at, and we're seeing those gaps persist, but we're seeing those gaps close. Bye, guys. We're seeing those gaps close at the earlier levels, which is really showing and kind of that first sign of proof that, what we're doing, particularly in our equity efforts, is working and it's being effective. So obviously with so much of the impact of the pandemic, trying to track these things, it's difficult. Data can only tell you so much, but one of the things we're seeing and what's great to see are the fruits of our labor in terms of getting those testing. And these are much better, I think, in terms of having them be tested shorter, easier spurts, and more often, so we can really see that progress from September, November, January, and March and May. And I think that's just one of the things. So that's really what the core of the discussion was about, and just kind of where those efforts will continue to see how we can close those achievement gaps as they persist, because some of them are as large as 20 percentage points. So we want to be able to make sure that all of our students are meeting benchmark. And I will just say, like, with those subgroups, like, we're seeing improvement in all groups. So that's really great to see.
That's it. Okay, any questions from the board? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So that brings us to agenda item E, which is our new business. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brummett for her update on her goals progress.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. Let me just get to the first slide of this presentation versus the last. Oops, still the last. There we go. So it's that time of year again where I am going to present how I've fared with my goals, because like everyone else in the district, the superintendent needs to set goals and report back to the board on how they're going. Just to remind the board of the process that this is a year-end evaluation. Tonight I'll be sharing my self-assessment with you. I prefer to do it in public session. Some superintendents might do it in executive session, but I feel like I want to share this publicly. And then from here, the board will conduct an evaluation in executive session, and they will issue a written or verbal draft performance evaluation, and then they'll share that with me in executive session. But when the report is finalized, it is FOIable. So it is important to, be careful about what's written in that report, and that's why I want to make sure that the board subcommittee that's doing that has all of the information. So I always include this in my presentations because I think it's very relevant for us to always stay focused on our increase in diversity. Every aspect of our diversity continues to rise, from our special ed population to our 504 population, EL, free and reduced lunch, open choice. We're down a little bit, and I always include magnet school kids because of their financial impact, but which I'll talk about later in a different line item. But we are increasingly diverse, and that's why what was said earlier from our curriculum committee is we have to focus on making sure all of our students do very well. One of my mantras, and you'll hear this tonight in this evaluation, is it's very much a collective efficacy mindset in the district. What I do is not in isolation. Wendy, Steve, my entire team are integrally involved in everything that I'll be discussing tonight. That's why I wanted to put that front and center on this initial slide. So where are we heading in NPS? Earlier this year, we discussed this, but currently, and I believe it still is, that our students are still impacted by COVID learning loss. And this has affected all areas of our population with probably a more deliberate or significant impact on our students from subgroups. Our 2B, where we are aspiring to, is that the opportunity and achievement gap are eliminated and all students are successful regardless of race. How are we getting there? One of our strategies or big bets is that if we support all schools with their equity efforts, as outlined in our theory of action and all school improvement plans, then, and if all PLCs and SRBI or operationalize the SRBI framework using culturally relevant pedagogy, we will effectively address disparities so all students are successful. I just want to make sure, because I use a lot of acronyms in this presentation, I want to make sure the board understands, and many of you are educators, but some of you may not know, that we spend a lot of time talking about professional learning communities in Newington. And one of the things that we self-assess ourselves on is what stage are we at? And we are still analyzing the self-assessment that all of our teachers are doing with their PLCs. But our goal, and I believe we're heading in that direction, is to be more toward the higher end of this stage. First, starting off with, when we started off this work, you have to determine what you're supposed to do as a PLC. We've gotten past that. And what's classroom practices are we discussing? And what should we be teaching? Those things I believe we've handled very well, though we always need to think about equity through that work. Developing common assessments, we've done a very good job with that. Analyzing student learning, stage 5, 6 and 7 are where we're spending a lot of our time. And when we do this analysis, often it happens at a PLC, or it might happen at an EIP team, which is an early intervention team, or a data team. These are all opportunities for us to look at student data and make determinations about how we're doing. And as mentioned by the curriculum subcommittee, overall, our kids are progressing. If you look at us as a big picture, our kids are growing. But when we peel away the onion to the subgroups, those students are still not performing at the same level. And that's why our work needs to continue. Another important part of the stage is adapting instruction. So you have students who may not be learning the first go around. How do you adjust your instruction to meet the needs of those children? Or in the case of culturally relevant pedagogy, you sort of think about that on the front end. How do I adjust my classroom so that all kids are engaged, regardless of their background? And then how do we reflect on instruction, what's working, what's not, and how do we implement and do some action research on that to see what is working for our kids? So that's a PLC, and we are continuing that work. That's ongoing, but we are growing in that regard. Of course, I clicked the wrong button. And then SRBI is a scientifically research-based intervention. It's been around a long time, but what we found as we dug deeper into our equity work, that we needed to kind of refresh our work on that. So last year, Kristen and a team redesigned and rewrote our SRBI handbooks. But just so the board knows, when we talk about SRBI, we're talking about scientifically based research interventions, but we're also talking about collective responsibility. That just because a student might not be in my class, I might still provide that child with an intervention because I'm doing that intervention with my class, or we do an intervention period at many of our schools, and kids often switch around so that they're partnered with teachers who have students with similar needs at that time. So I am serving more than just my own students. A willingness to be transparent. I hope tonight you'll feel we're being very transparent with our continuous improvement efforts. Obviously, we want to focus on early prevention. I'll talk about preschool in a minute, but that also trickles down to our early grades and the work that we're doing on the science of reading and other interventions. Obviously, it's imperative that our instruction is of high quality, rigorous, and that we look at it systemically with social and emotional learning being a part of that, especially as our kids continue to struggle with that aspect of their learning. And obviously, we have to monitor how we're doing, and that is ongoing both at the school level, and then next Friday, Wendy will convene her 3rd or 4th district data team where they look at the data collectively. So the entire team, which is represents the entire district, all schools, sit down and look at the data collectively about what are our trends, what are we still seeing, what's going well, what is still something that we need to work on. This also includes culture responsive teaching, and that's, I'll talk about our canons in a minute, but we are looking at, and this is a real tough lift for us because teachers often want to say, just tell me the strategy, I want to just implement culture responsive teaching in my classroom tomorrow. But it really is about understanding your students, understanding what their needs are. How do you view yourself in the world, and how does that impact how you interact with your kids? So it's a mental mind shift, as well as looking at ways to make your classroom environment the best it can be, because that's what promotes learning opportunities for the kids. And then a comprehensive assessment plan. We've talked about that already. We do have benchmark assessments. They are being used routinely, and more when kids are in an intervention group, they're assessed even more often. Data analysis, Wendy and her committee do that all the time, and it is done at schools all the time too, with support from both school-based folks and central office folks. And we use the concepts of data-based decision-making. So when we look at whether something's working well for our kids, or whether there's an intervention that we're trying, are we looking at the data to see if it's effective? The other thing to think about too is the rule of thumb for SRBI is that 80%, if you're tier 1 instruction, what all kids get in the classroom, if that's going well, nearly 80% of the kids should be doing grade level work. There's always statistically about 20% that will not. However, our belief is that we've got to look at how we're serving all of our kids and who's faring well, who's not, and what are we doing as a result of that analysis. So we are diving very deep into this work. I just wanted to do a quick refresher course on that, though none of these are new concepts, just how we're using them is a little different. And finally, some of our big bets this year are that every school will develop an equity team, and they have. And our other big bet is that the PLC work that we're doing in conjunction with the SRBI framework will provide that focus on culture responsive teaching and really be what our students need to get better. We are setting the table this year and last year with structures and capacity. And we feel that though we're seeing some small gains, I think we're going to see that take off even more next year, because all of these structures are now more firmly in place than they've ever been. Some of the other gears that we're using to move the district forward are ongoing professional development. Our central office team talks about this all the time. I'll talk about our DELT in a minute. We do use the Courageous Conversations framework as one of our canons, and we provide a lot of coaching and feedback at the school level about SRBI decision-making, and give a lot of feedback to educators, be it the administration or the coaches or the teams. Everyone is getting a lot of feedback about how they're doing. I provide a lot of feedback to our stakeholders. We have a data dashboard that is shared out at a lot of our curriculum subcommittee meetings. The Board of Ed presentations certainly have shine a light on what what our schools are all doing, the weekly updates, survey data, all kind of shines a light on what we're trying to accomplish. As we finish up this year and head into next year, we'll continue or enhance some of our leadership routines, which includes rounds visits. We go to each school twice a year. Tomorrow we go to Martin Kellogg. Continuing the training on culture responsive practices, making sure our equity teams have everything they need for support and training, and provide individualized training for every school. So every school's at a different spot. So much like we differentiate in the classroom for our own students, we differentiate for each school based on where they're at. So hopefully those are all going to work together. And I shouldn't say hopefully, they are working together, and we have a continuous improvement model. So I've already shared with you the SRBI guidelines. Those are one of our canons. And this is not the canon in a military operation. This is a canon that is a main thrust, something that really drives our work. And I brought, just to show the board tonight, our other two canons. Courageous Conversations, about how we show up in our meetings and what we do to interact and look at the data. And we do have to have honest discussions when there are certain populations of kids that aren't doing as well. And our other important canon is culture responsive teaching in the brain. Many schools have done book studies on this. Where we've seen that happen, we've seen substantial progress on this work. So these will be continued next year. One of the things that I think is important for the board to know is this is a 3 to 5 year plan. You don't change the equity work in a school district or the student achievement in a school district overnight, especially as our population concurrently gets more diverse. So our responsibility and intention is to continue this work over the course of the next several years to make sure our teachers have everything they need to feel confident in these new teaching strategies or how they go about interacting with kids. So just further to elaborate, the SRBI guidelines help us organize our systems. The Courageous Conversations help us to think about, when we see the data, when we see their interactions with our students, how are we showing up? How are we interacting and, calling out anything that might not be appropriate? And culture responsive teaching in the brain is how do we begin to address student performance? This year, we have reframed our central office PLC. That existed long before I arrived, and it met on a regular basis. But now we've reframed it to be a district equity leadership team. And we spend 2 hours every week, and we're very, very dedicated to that, except during award season, where we sit and talk about our goal, how we're doing on our goal. We look at our theory of action, which I've already talked about. We talk about strategy. So we debrief about what's going on at every school, because every one of us around the table has some interaction with schools on a daily basis, and is providing that coaching and support. And our goal, our overarching goal as a DELT, is to make sure we identify the areas of impact with our culturally relevant pedagogy, systematic decision-making, how are we supporting the culture and climate, and how are we helping provide resources to each school. So that we really consider ourselves getting out into schools and giving the schools what they need. Most often we work with teachers and administration so that they can then go into the classrooms and do the right work with our kids. We have a district-wide improvement plan, and this is sort of the driving force of each school improvement plan, but we do have some of our own goals. And I wanted to show the board that we are making progress. So I won't go into each and every line item, but we literally, much like our schools do, we look at ourselves kind of in a benchmark way. And 3 times a year, we haven't done May yet because we're going to look at the self-assessments to guide these answers. But we feel we are making substantial progress on all aspects of our PLC work and our providing the feedback, the continuous improvement mindset, the SRBI decision-making. I'll get into some of that in a minute. Our partnering with all of our schools and supporting the leaders. We feel we've met the SRB guidelines that are firmly in place to ensure common expectations. Some schools are a little further along than that, but all of them know that this needs to be happening. And providing the coaching and the feedback. Not sure why we rated 3B red. I think that is supposed to be yellow, but we are working with all schools on the Ready for Rigor framework, which is part of this book. And it really shows not a roadmap, but a way to kind of contextualize how you might want to think about your instructional practices to make sure they're culture responsive. And the Ready for Rigor framework I've already talked about. And all of our central office staff participate in rounds. We can't all go to all of them, but because we want to schedule them for a time when the schools are doing what they would normally do for what we want to see. But I would say by and large, no less than 7 or 8 of us attend every rounds visit. And then we spend substantial amounts of time talking about what we saw. And that also informs our work about what support schools need. So this will be filled out at the end of the year. But I do believe 3B should be yellow or green because we are, all of us partner with our schools to monitor the implementation of a variety of practices. By all of us, I mean both Wendy and Steve, Kim, Kristen, of course, Gerald, myself, Marilena, and Jay are all supporting schools in some way, shape, or form. Spotlights by schools. Now, many of this you've seen. What I've intentionally had every school present what they've been working on relative to equity this year. Now, it's not the only thing they've been working on, but when they came to see you throughout the course of the school year, they were focusing in on their equity efforts. I'm sure you'll recall our student panel discussion. I believe that resonated with the board. Those students that you saw, rather, have now formed a student panel with myself and Dr. Hairston, and they're giving us continuous feedback on what their life is like as a student. That has been extraordinarily powerful. The high school's also making major progress on their SRBI redesign. It's something that wasn't as firmly in place at the high school as we would have liked, but they've been working hand in glove this year with CERC, and they've made terrific progress up there. I've talked to CERC, and they are really excited about the work they've done. Some of it will be continuing over the summer. Next week, I won't do a spoiler alert, but the Parent Equity Committee from Martin Kellogg will be joining us next week at the board meeting, and you will see from Mr. Lambert some of the discussions they've had and some of the policies and protocols that they've put in place. And we're also going to look tomorrow at Martin Kellogg and look at the PLC work being done there. They spent substantial time this year enhancing and improving that. Wallace has been a real spotlight district. I chose Wallace for the superintendent network visit that was here late last month, and I will tell you, they were blown away. Now, this is a group of superintendents from around the state who belong to this network. We all go to rounds visits at each other's respective schools. What they saw at Wallace, relative to habits and rituals for equity, was extraordinarily, they were very impressed. Why? Because they could tell it's very coherent. They could tell the work that's done at the district level and how it trickles down to the school level. And they saw that when both they visited classrooms and PLCs. Now, granted, there is more work to be done. Some classes had more evidence of it than others, but there's been substantial progress there, and I think we've got the structures in place to make some substantial gains. Similarly, we had a recent rounds visit at Chafee, and we saw their classroom environments, and their focus is how are we improving the routines in our classrooms that support equity. And we saw several classrooms where it was a beautiful thing where all the children were doing well, and you could tell it was because of how the teacher had set up that room to make sure all kids were engaged, had a voice. If a student was having an off moment, how they interacted with that student to get them back on track. At Green, we had a visit earlier this year from a state committee that I serve on, and they were very impressed with the co-teaching model that eGreen has established. In fact, Kathy Grizzle, one of our mentors, has a very effective co-teaching model with another teacher at the school. And it's really two teachers working together to meet the needs of all the children, and some powerful training that leads up to that work. Patterson also has a strong equity team that is leading the way to a lot of the work over there. Mr. Farisi's been very involved. And they've had this focus called Habits of Work, and that gets into our standards-based report card. But what they're looking at is making sure, do all of our kids do well on the habits of work? In other words, the attention span, the ability to engage, and what do we do if the kids are not working out, if it's not going as well as it should be? And Reynolds, in the midst of their renovation, has had an implementation of a Yukon model this year about how they're doing the early intervention process. And they've really universalized that, and I've observed it a couple of times, and they really take each student and they start off the discussion with the student's strengths as a way of kind of helping to drive what they might need for supports. It's a whole different way of looking at a student who might have some academic challenges. Pre-K, my favorite topic. We have 2 full-day, full-week classrooms going in next year, one at Green, one at Chafee. Both are full with a 20-person waiting list. So we are diligently calling parents to make sure they're still interested, because we want to make sure we have as many kids accommodated on the waiting list. But what's exciting besides that, and I'm very excited about that, I will tell you the parents are too. When they found out their child was, we had to do a lottery. When they found out their child was selected, they were over the moon. But you can see in the 4 years we've been doing this, took some data samples. We've gone from 60 kids in pre-K to 105 this year, and I estimate next year we'll be up to 125 kids. So just so you know, eGreen will be one of the sites, and Chafee will be one of the sites. Once Patterson is done, I hope to open up a full-day classroom there next year, not next year, the year after. My goal would be to have one full-day site at every school. And then another site that would, another classroom that would be serving 3-year-olds, as well as some parents of 4-year-olds don't want the full day. They still want to kind of keep them home or have them do something else on the other half of the day. But I believe that we will have a substantial number of kids who will be with us for kindergarten go through our pre-K program. So that's been a nice spotlight for us. And just, I'm going to go through this very quickly because many of these items have already been discussed. But when I look at one of the things that needs to be looked at for my evaluation is how do I measure up to the leadership standards? So student achievement, as I mentioned, holistically, we're doing very, very well. We have ways to go yet, looking at our subgroups. But we have, and I spelled ongoing wrong, not good, ongoing. So we are still managing the impact of COVID, still implementing learning acceleration strategies. We've talked about our equity efforts to improve classroom climate. We are continuing to leverage our ESSER funds to make sure we have ML teachers, BCBAs, interventionists. Wendy led a leadership academy this year. It was kind of a different twist on kids who might need extra help after school, rather than calling it the after school program, or not that we would call it a remedial program, but we flipped it so the kids are in a leadership academy, and while we do work on academics, they also get to do some things that bolster their sense of self-worth. And I put a picture in one of my updates that the kids went on the playground and picked things, cleaned it up and, had that opportunity. And that's just one example. I've already mentioned rounds, that's another piece of my educational leadership, our SRBI and PLC work, our social emotional learning efforts, the central office DELT, the organizational management. I'm very proud of our work this year on the budget. We had the highest budget increase in over a decade, so hats off to the board. We have continued maximum leverage of our grant funds. The board saw that certainly during the budget deliberations about how much money we use in grants to offset the operating budget. The Reynolds project is going along very well. It's one more year. Get ready for that party. And then Wallace is finally underway. I am so thrilled with the support of the board, the support of the council. I met with some parent groups last week. I had our folks from Reynolds support that. Amy was kind enough to come along with Jason about lessons learned about how that referendum could move along. And the co-presidents of the parent group at Wallace are all on board. And I've conferred with the town about now being able to advertise this, and they're fine with that. Some of my other things that I do when I'm not doing the school stuff is I'm a secretary to Alpha Delta Kappa. Beth is on that with me. It's a philanthropic group that is mostly educators, and we do a lot of cool charitable things during the day, or not during the day, during the school year for a variety of charities throughout the state of Connecticut. We have a lot of collaboration with all of our town agencies, human services. Everyone sees the donations that all of our schools do, but we've had such a positive linkage with them for the Transition Academy, where the kids are delivering food to community members, which is just so wonderful. That continues on. Lots of collaboration with the library. I had the most awesome opportunity last week to talk to one of our town librarians, and Tom Myler collaborated on a program for ML families that will encourage them to come to the library. It's not just about books, that's the title. They are now going to have opportunities for networking, and they're going to bring in social services just to give parents that camaraderie and opportunity. Our senior center collaboration, I think many of you went to the art show this year. That was such a success. And our one of our high school English classes is doing pen pals with the senior center. And I forgot to mention that here, but we also, one of our music teachers at Kellogg brought her choral groups over to the senior center. I was able to attend one of those concerts, and the seniors loved it. So all that's such goodwill for our community. Gerald and I co-chair a parent and community council, and we had created that fireside chat that you heard Yvonne also talked about it when she was here a few weeks back. The board's addition of those religious holidays onto the calendar has been a huge amount of goodwill in the community. For Eid al-Fitr this year, I must confess I got some cool presents. The families were so excited about that. And I was invited to, and I attended with a few other leaders from the district, a Ramadan informational session that I learned so much. And I do make frequent appearances on the Talk to the Mayor show. Have you caught those? I'm not sure we have a large viewing audience, but, and then the board has asked me ever since I've been on the board to make sure that I have items on the surveys, much like all of our leaders do and our teachers do. And the couple items here, parent survey. What is the reaction to my office about how I communicate with stakeholders? Do they understand what we're trying to do? And I've been averaging in the 90s the whole time, so I'm thinking that's pretty good. And then the second one is also about communication, informing parents about a variety of issues, still averaging in the 90% percentile rather. When it comes to staff surveys, there are 3 questions that are asked of all staff members. Do they feel supported by the superintendent? Again, a high level of support. Looks like my highest support was during COVID, but for obvious reasons, we were doing a lot of things together. How does the superintendent understand and interact with stakeholders, town officials, parents? Again, around mid 90 percentile average there, and the clearly articulated goals that inspire folks to work toward them. Again, in the high to mid 90s over the course of 4 years. So those are pretty good, I hope. And again, I hope the board feels they get tons of communication from me. I want to give the board a bang up because the board worked collaboratively together to get a lot of things done this year, but I want to bring to your attention two things that really supported our equity efforts. The material selection policy that you worked on, which really gave us a policy that guides our work and has really helped us as any curriculum issues come up or book challenges have come up. And the dress code policy. That was a lot of work on the part of the board and the subcommittee and Mr. Farisi. But at the end of the day, I'm pleased to report that the dress code went very smoothly this year. A few bumps initially, but right now it's just out there. There's been no issues. Hopefully you feel that I call you back or send your email back. I inform you about state issues and legislative issues. I hopefully advise you on legal responsibilities and the training that you've gotten through various consults with Shipman and Goodwin. And I always want the board to know when there's emergencies at the school so they don't worry what it's about. And I do try to do that as I hope do it for all occasions. And so these are some of the organizations. Well, let me start at the top. We've seen a nice improvement in communication of late with the mayor, the town manager. There's a lot of things going on collaboratively there. I do work with a lot of the department chairs, have a great relationship with Parks and Rec. In fact, Parks and Rec is on our wellness committee. Work with the police chief all the time. Town planner, actually, she's been great to work with as well. The library, EMS. We've already talked about Anna Reynolds. I serve on the CAPS executive board. I'm first vice president now. I was second vice president this year. In 2 years, I'll be president. I hope. Unless they kick me off. I'm a CCSU advisory committee member and a professor. I still chair the CAPS teaching and learning committee. We'll talk about House Bill 5003 in a minute. I sit on the Reading Leadership Implementation Council. I attended a meeting there yesterday. They tend to be frustrating, but we should know about our waiver by the end of June. And we also found out that we'll be able to talk to the waiver committee if we have any questions about how they looked at our programs. But there's over 90 waivers that committee has to go through. And I serve on, I mentor 3 interns, one's here tonight. And I serve on the advisory committee for intergovernmental relations, which gives me a nice inroad to talk to a lot of officials at the state and legislators to get kind of a pulse rate on things that are happening. Preliminary goals for next year are to continue, obviously, working on our SRBI and PLC processes, increase training with the canons, these 2 books, plus our SRBI framework, expanding culturally responsive pedagogy. We are also actively involved in a discipline committee right now. Teachers have been a bit frustrated with the increased concerns with student behavior, and how are we responding to that? Are we looking at that with an equity lens? So Gerald, Wendy, and I serve on that committee with a good representation of many teachers throughout the district. We are going to convene some focus groups soon to get parent and community and teacher feedback on our efforts with equity. Steve, as you know, has led the wellness committee this year. They had their last meeting for the year yesterday and talked about, as you heard in his report, the really huge upgrade we made to our EAP program. And then we're going to talk about some wellness efforts for our teachers, might focus in on email usage and other things that might make their job a bit less stressful. We're going to work on that as an administrative team, but I think we'll be coming out with some outcomes from that. And then that work will continue next year as well, as will SEL efforts. So that is my long-winded report. Any questions from the board?
Just a reminder, we will convene next week in executive session to discuss this. But if you do have any questions for clarification, now would be a good time to ask them. Go ahead.
I just have a comment, not a question. I'm so excited John Walls is going through. Just wanted to say that. So that was my comment. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, that's what I want to say. And I'm excited we have a high budget increase and thank you for everything you do. I look at your resume, I'm like, she's on all these things, so am I. So there's two people really, well, besides you guys too, who are a part of everything. And the fact that, you're helping essentially with legislative things, as well. I see you sometimes. And, we're all trying to work together collaboratively. I'm just really excited that a lot of the things that I think almost all of us wanted this year have happened, especially John Wells, have went through. So thank you for everything you've done.
I just want to say thank you. That's a pretty I think that's like exactly what we want for Portrait of a Graduate, like as one of our Newington High graduates. Yes. But just a question on the kind of surveys and stuff. Did we see like a dip in participation too? I know that's kind of hard. Like when we're doing percentages, it's sometimes like,
Oh,
I think.
I don't know if it was a little lower.
Okay.
Was there
Yeah,
a dip,
parents,
Steve?
like, yeah.
Okay, so a little dip in parents,
Okay.
staff, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Burma, thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Just want to thank the board for their support, and a lot of the success has been because of the efforts of the board and the cooperation on many of the issues that did go well this year. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So what we'll do now, we're going to move on to item E2, which is discussion and possible action on the school calendar for 2024 and 2025. You should all have that packet before you. Dr. Burma, do you want to say anything about it?
Yes. It's around this time every year that we project out yet another year. And just so you're not thinking you're crazy, you already made a change to the upcoming school year's calendar. So as folks can recall, we do sometimes modify these, but our initial attempt at the 24-25 school calendar includes going with the later start date again. We've obviously included the same holidays that the board has already approved. The only difference you'll notice in this calendar, not every holiday happens every year, just the way the calendar rolls. But we do have the Three Kings holiday comes back onto the calendar this year. But we found that we still want to do the PD day in February because the timing is just better for how we're doing our data teams and things like that. We did not build into this calendar, and this might be one area for the board to discuss, that this year we put the 13th or similar day, the Thursday before the February break, as the PD day, and then made the day before, the Friday before the long weekend, a vacation day for teachers. We did not do that in this calendar because they will get Three Kings Day off in January. And there are a few more holidays throughout the school year next year that didn't happen this year. So that could affect the last day of school significantly. We're already at the 13th, and that's if there are no snow days. So that's up for that can be up for board discussion. My feedback from teachers that I'm getting through the committees that I sit on is they're pleased with the later start date, especially teachers who have young families. That's been an asset that I've heard positive feedback about. And right now, they're excited about that extra February day. That's again next year's calendar. So the board does not necessarily have to vote on this tonight. They can ponder it, but this is our initial out of the gate recommendation, knowing that the board can get feedback next year and make any adjustments as they see fit. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Okay, so what we'll do is we can discuss for a few minutes. If you want to put this off until a further future meeting, we can do that. Or if it's your desire, we can make the motion on this, do any discussion and move on it. Any opinions, Mr. Brandon?
I could be missing it because I have a bunch of different calendars open, and maybe it falls, I'm not sure of the date, but I don't see Yom Kippur. Is it?
It is, yes. We We scoured it, we verified, that does fall on a non-school day.
Okay.
Friday.
So Friday evening.
September.
Okay.
Rosh Hashanah is October 3rd.
Is, okay.
Yeah, it would fall on most of the evening of the 11th.
The 11th, the Friday evening.
At night.
Yeah.
Correct, that's on that.
I have a question, and I'm talking as a teacher right now, and I know there's probably nothing that can be done about this one. December 23rd, coming back for one day. I don't know if there's another day where it can be like put in there, or even like have that be a PD day, which I know is the last thing teachers want before the holiday. That's a tough one. That 23rd, is my thought. And I thought it's somewhere, and maybe it was because if the holiday fell on the 24th, but I thought there was one union that also got the 23rd off, unless that was the 24th was on a weekend. Because last year we had the Friday the 23rd off. Is that because the 24th was a Saturday?
I believe so. Steve, can you comment on that?
Yeah, it was last school year. Last school year, we had Friday the 23rd off because of one of the unions, and I don't know if it was because the 24th was a Saturday. That's why it was, okay.
Yes, me and the secretarial.
No, I mean, I know that there's been times that Newington has when Christmas falls on a Wednesday, that we give Monday off. I know that it's been done in the past. I can tell you every single day that every teacher in the world that we've got up. And I know that it's one of those things, like it's a day before a really long break. And I know we're ending on a Friday, so maybe we go to Mr. Brand. It's like maybe we only have 180 days that year.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I just think that day in the past has been given off. I know that there have been school years in this district that 23rd has been given off.
With the Wednesday.
Teachers live for Wednesday being December 25th because it is the ultimate longest holiday break you can get. It's bad when it's on a Saturday, or on a Sunday is the worst day.
Good point.
That's a teacher wellness.
I concur.
Well,
It is
I
teacher
think,
wellness,
I think
and I have
families would
no-
appreciate
I
it.
have no skin in the game on this one.
No, I think families would appreciate it too, because that 23rd is going to be pretty rough, like, especially if you are going away for, that holiday. I think it's an awesome opportunity to pilot the 180-day opportunity, because looking around the calendar, it's tough to find, like, because then, again, we don't know about snow and things, but then you're pushing, you could end the year on a Monday, and that kind of stinks too, which we were gonna do, but I think it presents a really great opportunity for 180 days.
Amy?
Yeah, I would second that, the 180 days this year. I know that there's contractual things though, so we wouldn't necessarily want teachers to come back. I don't know, maybe we do a celebration again. But I think that the late start date is good because obviously we got that feedback just recently that starting later is preferable. It also kind of extends our summer a little bit, but then looking ahead, June 13th, not including snow days, potentially could make us go very late because in June. So I would just, I know that like having 16th seems like really late this year if we have a snow day, or sorry for what year this is. So that's all the thing is I would say is that since all the holidays most of them are falling on actual school days, and with the later start, I just want to caution the end of the school year. So if we can do 180 days with contracts, I don't know how that works out. So I think we need to get some information on that. I'm looking at you, Mr. Farisi.
Mr. Rose?
What if We put back in the school day on the 14th of December. Take the 23rd off for students and teachers. So now we've taken away one day. And I don't think teachers would love this, but I think they would prefer, and maybe it's a question for the teachers, I think they'd prefer to have the 23rd off and have the last day of school, whenever that should be, as your PD day. I think in this particular, like, I think when I talk to teachers, they're like, no, I don't want to come back. But I think given that as a choice, so having the students go to school on the 14th, that makes up for the 23rd, give the 23rd off to the teachers and tack the PD day at the 16th. And if I did the math right, the teachers would still have 181 days. February 14th is a PD day.
February, okay.
So put put February 14th back into the calendar as a school day. Give the 23rd as a vacation day and put the PD day on the 16th of June, which I know stinks, but I think
It's the opposite of what you said last.
yeah, right. And I said, but I think it is. I started by saying, I think, and I don't know, and maybe it's a question for the teachers, would they rather have that 23rd? And I mean, it's a teacher's dream to have that much time off in December. It's a dream. I'm telling you, it's what we get very happy for. As much as we love our students and everything else, like that extra day is just awesome. But I think that might be a question for teachers, what they prefer.
You really want to make them happy, give them time off in March.
Well, yeah, give them a 4-day work week would make them really super happy, but.
Well, there are a couple of mitigating factors. I know PD, that February PD gives us an opportunity to do, some work middle of the year. And then the 180 versus 181, that's, that's been I've asked my colleagues that have been here longer, just to remind the board that 181 day, that was for what purpose, Steve or Wendy? Some of the half days, yeah.
Yeah, I can just speak to, I mean, we used to go 183, I think, when I was in the classroom, and we cut it back during teacher negotiations. But yeah, we've always gone 181, but right now, I think the situation is that that's what the teacher contract is built on.
I have an idea.
What about this? What about, it's not a presidential election year, which is important because I know presidential election year, the parking becomes a debacle. So what if we give the 23rd as a vacation day? The teachers, no, that would not be enough to never mind. I was gonna say, and the teachers come in on election day as a PD day, which they used to do.
Yeah.
Well, especially, as you said, not,
So that would be,
but there will be early voting that year. So there will be multiple days. I don't know how they're gonna change the.
Diminish the crowd on the day of the election.
oh, this would be, actually, no, this year, 2024-25 would be would be presidential.
It is
So
presidential.
I don't think that's a good idea.
And they'll also be doing well, I don't know how early voting is going to change that in terms of our polling locations and all that jazz.
Brenda?
How does that?
Could we do, since this is so far in advance, and I think just the tone of the table is try to find a way to make the 23rd work.
Mhm.
Is it possible to just maybe brainstorm some ideas?
Sure.
And then come back to it?
Absolutely.
I think it makes perfect sense to have that 23rd, but I also want to be cognizant of the fact of like that mid-February PD is important, and there's reasons for all of this. But maybe option B could be 180 days. I got
So
it.
I think if that's okay, Dr. Fletcher, I'd be happy to bring back several options that reflect some of the conversation tonight.
I don't know if this is appropriate for this since we're talking about calendars, or should I wait for board remarks? Are we gonna kind of look at the board calendar for next year to make sure it doesn't fall on any holidays?
Well, you're gonna have a new board of ed.
That'll be the next agenda,
Week.
next week's agenda.
Okay.
But we have already made sure it's not going to fall on any holidays, but sneak preview.
So at this time then, this is going to go back to committee. I like saying that. We're sending this back to committee.
There it is.
All right, and now we're going to move on to the discussion and possible action of the use of school building fees.
Mr. Jacomowitz.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Every year, this motion comes back to the Board of Ed for consideration for addressing the operations costs we incur to support all communities, groups' use of our facilities. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to extend 2 years with no increase to the community over the last couple of years. But like everybody else, we're vulnerable to all of the pressures of inflation, fuel costs, costs of supplies and use, labor costs to just keep operations going. So at this point, we're proposing a 4% increase to our rates to address those key drivers in our cost structure. And this is primarily, the cost of the custodians who are working the facility for the benefit of the organizations, use of all our utilities for heat, lighting for the event. Those costs don't go away. When the building is in greater use than typical activities, and the cost of just the supplies that are used every day. Custodial costs for materials and bathroom supplies are up 15-20% easily. So an adjustment of this type should be considered by the board. We're not locked into any one set number other than what we think was just a reasonable request. We are looking at a 3% labor rate increase built into the AFSCME contract for next school year. So this follows along very closely with that. All right. Ms. Yelp.
Do you charge the same fees for events that are, I see it says profit making. What about nonprofit?
Well, that's the difference between Schedule C and Schedule D.
Okay.
That's here. One is the nonprofit schedule, the other is the profit-making schedule. So depending on the organization's status, they will qualify for either of the two schedules. You also have Schedule A, Schedule B items, which are exempt by the policy that is in the board book for use of school facilities. Like they have political groups can use the buildings for free. Park and Rec has a pass-through on their costs for any labor we incur to support the activity. Like we have a custodian to keep the school open for basketball in the wintertime. We will just pass back the cost of that to them. And it doesn't have to be individually priced. It's just charged back to the other organization. So the schedule is pretty comprehensive in that fashion for supporting Newington community groups with the lowest possible costs. Nonprofit groups, which can be Newington or from other communities around the area. And then the for-profit making groups, which pay the highest rates.
You answered my question. No, he did answer what I was asking. Sorry. Yeah, because I was just wondering, let's say if there was a nonprofit event that needed the school, are they going to pay all of these same costs? And you're essentially saying no.
No, they pay a lower rate for a nonprofit organization.
The nonprofit one. Okay.
In parentheses.
I'm blind because I don't see it say Schedule C. I'm like, I see for-profit, I don't see nonprofit. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it. Thank you.
Just a question, Leo. Because I know we don't want to do this, and I know we at one point froze the fees, I think, during COVID times. So just quick recap on when we increase the fees at any point?
Well, last 2 years.
We did, the last 2 years.
Sorry, last year we raised them by 2%. We definitely, I know we voted for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we actually implemented it, but we did.
I thought we did.
I thought we did.
I think it was
We did.
2%.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 2%. 2%.
2%, yeah.
Minimal. It must have been the 2 years before that with no increase.
Okay.
Okay.
We didn't do anything for the 2 years for COVID. That was like making literally no money off of that. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, I don't want to raise fees on the public, obviously, but we're getting hit hard, and I'm just thinking for next budget year, like that's going to be, and then including the labor costs that are already 3%. Just so like the public understands, like we're not doing this just willy-nilly. This is more of just to cover the costs that we're already going to anticipate. Okay.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to bring the perspective of somebody that used to rent. I spent 4.5 years renting the auditorium at Martin Kellogg, and every year I had an increase. and it never bothered me because you expect that. When you look at the rates that are on here right now, most of these nonprofits that are using it and paying that rate, they cannot find their own facility for that rate. That's why they're still using ours. So a 3% or, well, a 4% increase is minimal, and it's not even disputable in my book. I would say that we need to do this. We have to be fiscally responsible for our buildings as well. So personally, I'm in favor of doing it.
Yeah, and just also, I've done events in schools too, and sometimes you have to pay additional fees for the staff that are there. You have to pay, so to have it all in the one fee, I think 4%, when I first saw it, I think it is the highest that we've done in a while, but we're also kind of catching up on some of the years that we were frozen, and just so it was May 11th last year.
Okay. I stand corrected. That's fine.
2%. So, Dan was the one who moved. So, yeah, but I'm in favor of it also. I think it's, like Dr. Fletcher said, it helps preserve our buildings. We have the staff that have to be there. And this is not a rate. This is not something that we're just, printing cash for, right? Like this is an opportunity for organizations to come to our buildings using that a very reasonable rate, and we can pay our staff to do it.
So what I'd like to do at this time is have somebody read the motion.
Move the Board of Education increase the building use fee by 4% for the 2023-2024 school year effective July 1st, 2023.
Second.
So made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Michael Miranda.
Yes.
Danielle Rose.
Yes.
Dr. Bruce Fletcher.
Yes.
Beth Making-up Wagner.
Yes.
Amy Parati.
Yes.
Sam Sharma.
Yes.
Jessica Weaver.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
All right, very good. Thank you, everybody. And now we have one more discussion item, but what's interesting is when I walked in tonight, I was given a major update on this. So before we bring it up for discussion, would you like,
Yeah. So I just wanted to give some context. Ms. Parati and I were at a Newington Advocacy Day this morning. Had to take my first hour off this morning to go to the Capitol, and just kind of residents were asking questions, and I thought it was a great time to bring up that question about HB 5003, which Representative Curry had given a presentation on before. And I think just wanted to give some context that we were told by our legislators that it won't be an actual bill anymore. It's just going to be in the budget. So they're the same provisions I think that we're focused on. There are some other provisions that I think we're in kind of question right now, are kind of how the cost of living adjustments will go only to charter schools and not to public schools. So that's one of the points of contention, as well as just kind of overall, we're getting money that we're set to get anyway, just at a more accelerated rate, how they're fully funding the education cost sharing grant. Especially as we see those ARPA money go away, and essentially kind of looking at how it is placed between public and charter schools and how much are they getting more or less. So those are kind of points of contention, but we were told that it won't be like voted on as a bill. It's just going to be in the budget, which still confuses us, not a part of the legislator. So I think part of this was just kind of, we had talked about it as a board of, we were like full support of wanting more money, right? We want our education cost sharing grant funded. So just kind of as we write this letter, I'm not sure how we want to present it to say, I don't know what that bill will look like, because I don't think it will be a bill anymore. It will just be provisions and how we show our support, because I think all of us were excited about hearing more about that. That particular part is the education cost sharing grant being fully funded for us so we can actually get our money. If that makes sense.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add, and I did confirm too that another piece of the bill that I think we all supported was that the tuition for residents of Newington attending magnet schools will be, we wouldn't be responsible for paying that tuition. It would be the state would pay it. So that's another piece of the bill that we've been told is going to be added to the budget. So I think just to piggyback on what Jessica is saying is that we do support pieces of the bill, but we don't necessarily, like, it might change or whatever is going to happen with it. HB 5003 won't necessarily be voted on as it is today. It could change to be like other pieces that maybe we don't support or we don't really feel comfortable with enough information right now. But I think that what she was saying is the accelerated ECS money and that magnet school tuition, we've been told will be a part of just worked into the budget as line items.
Dr. Brumman?
Thank you. Yes, so I did consult with, because I had heard from some board members about just questions. I called our lobbyist that we use for CAPS. His name is Chris Smith. And legislation is very confusing. Right now, House Bill 5003 was originally a Democratic bill, but ironically, the higher rate of funding is on the Republican proposed House Bill 5003. But the likelihood of it coming somewhere in the middle of what each party has proposed, it might be somewhere in the middle. The amount of money in that bill is pertinent because the more money that's in there, the more guarantee we have of the funding that will help make a difference for towns like Newington. We're in a good position. Newington will benefit regardless of what iteration it is. It's just a matter of how much we benefit. Because if it's not fully funded at the level that was recommended originally by its authors, then the money coming to Newington will be impacted. Charter schools are going to be in there one way or the other. I don't know. I didn't ask him specifically about the staggered or the cost of living increases, but he said politically at the state right now, charter schools do have a lot of following. And no matter what iteration comes out for this, it's likely to benefit charter schools because they are just highly supported by the folks on both sides of the aisle, actually. But the whole point of writing the letter was it was something that was suggested to superintendents. Some boards have already done it. If this board does not feel comfortable doing it, it's not a requirement. It's not an action item tonight. It was simply a possibility. So I will turn it back over to you, Dr. Fletcher.
Jessica?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, just from that, I just didn't know if this letter would mean anything. So I guess helping that origin is helpful too, because I think, will not speak for all, but like, I think a lot of us just want those dollars and we support, a lot of what is said in this. I just didn't know if it would be effective at this point, just given where it is and kind of what the origin was of, if we sign this letter, what does that do for us? And again, yeah, making sure we're not like that component of the bill, like, does that take away from us? Legislation is confusing, so sometimes trying to get those answers and, talking to our legislators, they're like, well, I think this is how superintendents feel. Well, is this how boards feel? Every stakeholder in this, obviously, it's one of those big bills, so it's just one of those things I think we're all trying to just get clarity on. So maybe asking for more clarity in the letter is helpful too.
Strauss?
I don't feel comfortable signing this because I don't truly understand it. I read what you had sent us and my interpretation was very different and she sent it to everyone. I don't exactly know where you got what you sent us. And I appreciate it because I didn't have the information and how my perception of it was towns like Newington could actually not benefit from it indirectly. So the way I was reading it with my, little blinders on was we may actually not benefit from it, how it was written in whatever you had sent us. And so that actually worried me. I actually read it and got angry for Newington. So I am, again, like Jess said, like if we had made more information and I understood this more, I would feel comfortable putting my name behind it. But based on mixed messages, I am apprehensive about putting my name behind that.
Michelle?
Yes, I did send it out to you guys. Well, most of you know in my new role, I'm working more closely with other legislators. And I feel similar to Ms. Trodes. I think right now, especially after saying what you're saying, at first we thought it was maybe one party that kind of had, control over this. And now we're finding out it could be the other. I think that we should table this until we figure out where it's going. I am in communication with some of the people that are going to make this decision. And I think that as we've had Representative Curry, we should also invite, others so we can kind of hear their side and see how it could essentially benefit our town, if that's okay. So, I mean, as there are other people now and we know this have changed, I think that's something we should do. I've spoken to a few people who would love to come and obviously are avid supporters of Newington and have a little bit more information and gave me this information. And I think that that's something that we should look into as we want to all collectively help the town of Newington. Thank you.
It seems like the consensus is that we wait.
I love how
So that is what we will do. We will wait for further information. What is the last legislative day?
June 7th.
June 7th.
I don't believe that. We were told that there's anticipation that it's likely no special session. Not guaranteed, but.
Given the large surpluses, it's anticipated that June 7th, so 3 weeks,
Thank you very much. That concludes our new business. And we will now move on to agenda item F, which is public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. If you're here in person, you may speak, which I don't see anybody in the room, or you can call in at 860-665-8659. Or if you are online in our Google Meet, just raise your hand, the little hand symbol that's on the bottom of the screen, and I will call on you. We will give you 3 minutes for any comments or questions that you may have. So cue the Jeopardy theme music. All right, I don't see anyone and I don't hear the phone. So we are going to move on now. We will offer the opportunity for any more remarks by the board members. It's not mandatory, but if you have something more you'd like to add to tonight, we give you the opportunity. Ms. Parati?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to our fire department and EMS who put on 2 presentations at the high school right before junior prom and senior prom. And I think it's obviously a very important lesson and see what possibly could happen if you make poor choices and drive under the influence. But also having the car parked outside the high school is a reminder just for the community too, because there's potentially some people that even adults, I think it's important to teach our students, but the rest of the community, there are instances all the time of people driving under the influence. And it's just a really good reminder that it could end very poorly for many people. So I want to thank them and yes.
Believe me, I have been asked by several people what that's all about.
Awesome.
And I said, that's you, the way you drive.
Just really quickly, I was going to say last night was the scholarship awards, and was it 120 students? 102 students were given 102 scholarships, 86 students, 75 hours long. But it was incredibly moving that all of these people have given scholarships in honor of those who have passed, and to see the look on the student's face when they shook the hand, and this, to say like, this was for, one of the ones I read was for a girl who was a Newington High School grad, but her life had been tragically taken while she was riding her bike at UConn, going to school for puppeteering. And so the award went to a student who was going to embark on a journey through arts. And I just thought that was really special, and to kind of be able to know that money, it's not just dollars. That's somebody saying like, the memory of our daughter, our father, our family is living on through you. There were some stories where we were all kind of getting misty-eyed. It was really beautiful, and the students were incredibly grateful. One other note about that, and I was sharing this with Dr. Burt earlier, the diversity in the students who were recipients of these scholarships was a really cool thing to see. Even since I graduated in 2005, just looking all these years further, how much the picture of those students on stage has changed to truly reflect our community is applaudable, and it is a really, really beautiful thing. So.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think
We got it. Meeting is adjourned.